Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Because I always
How
want
are
to.
you, Rani?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Chris?
I'm very good, thank you. It's nice to see you again after so
Yes.
long.
Yeah, after so long. Yeah, last year, I think, we met,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Some friends.
The last time I saw you, I gave you a book, I think. Did you finish
Oh,
it
yeah.
already?
Yes. Yes. Almost done, like few more pages. I'm trying to
Okay.
finish it, but yeah, I still have to do some things. But it's really
Yeah.
interesting book. I like that.
So you like it? Cool. Yeah, that's one of my favorite writers. I really like that guy. He's called
Uh,
Tim Hannigan, and
again.
he writes really interesting history about Indonesia. It's really, yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, you have some collections of that book, yeah, from Tim Hannigan.
Yeah, he did another book called, what's it called? A Brief History of Indonesia, and it's just, yeah, it's like Indonesia from about, I think, 6,000 years ago all the way up until present. But it's like really fast paced and it's really interesting. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you like history and Indonesian history especially, but if you want to read something that's actually, it reads more like a novel, like fiction,
Mhm.
then it's a good book for you. I think I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you reading now again, Chris? Is there any other books?
Uh, what am I reading right now? I'm sat in front of a bookcase where I keep all my books.
Mhm.
And at the moment, I'm reading a really boring book, actually. It's all about the economics of Indonesia in like the New Order regime. So, yeah, it's all about about that period of Indonesian history, which I'm quite interested in. But I've been reading about that for a while. But it's a very different style of writing. It's much more technical and much more economic. I quite like stuff that's descriptive and that's a bit poetic. But this book is very very factual and very scientific. So
Mm,
it's taken me a long time to read through it.
okay, that's really nice. I like psychology book.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
because my brother is actually wait a minute. Someone is coming. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Okay, this is one of my student. Her name is Tia. So she's very good in English.
Hmm.
Maybe she's going to ask question for you later. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay, she's here. So, Chris, you're still working in your place as a travel blogger, or you're?
Yeah, kind of. Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, basically I'm a freelance writer, a travel writer, and a photographer.
Oh,
But I also, in the last year or so, I've started specializing in sustainability and conservation. So I've been writing a lot more for conservation projects,
conservation project.
mostly based in Indonesia. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit experience about your, you know,
Yeah.
conservation project
Sure.
like that? Yes. Which one is the most interesting?
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, recently, I mean, a job that I've been working on recently is a project all about saving coral reefs in Indonesia. So it's working with WWF. I think you probably
Oh,
know
yeah.
WWF.
Yes.
So they do lots of projects around the world, but especially in Indonesia, trying to rescue coral reefs,
Mhm.
set up protected areas. They're called MPAs, marine protected areas, around places like Raja Ampat in Papua,
Raja Ampat, yeah.
in North Sulawesi and in Kalimantan as well. So they have lots of projects which are set up to kind of lead community-led conservation. So you have local communities, local fishermen contributing to these large conservation efforts, and it's really good. It's really interesting because I get to learn lots about the ocean, about marine biology, about conservation issues, and I get to write web content and magazines, which is encouraging people to support conservation of Indonesia's natural resources. So it's very satisfying, and I really enjoy it.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
So, what is the most challenging thing, especially about conservation? Environment issues
Mm,
are one of the, one of the biggest challenges here. It's really hard to
mm,
educate, but I think most of the people in some areas, they already like aware about the issues, the environmental
mm.
issues, and they're trying to do something to make the environment better. But what do you think about that? in Indonesia? Do you think that the awareness of the people is actually getting better now?
Well, I mean, in Indonesia, I don't really know too much, but I think from my perspective as a writer, the most challenging thing is you have a very complicated issue in lots of cases, whether it's rainforests or coral reefs or cities, or any other ecosystem or environment where there's climate change impacts happening. The issue is usually very complicated, and there's lots and lots of science, and there's lots of very technical information, and lots of experts who know everything about the issue. The difficult part for me is that I have to take all of that information and put it into very simple language and make sure that people who are reading it for the first time can understand it and will feel inspired to do something positive about it. That's the most challenging thing, but the most rewarding as well.
Okay. All right. So have you involved in the movement to make, the environment better by doing some, I don't know, simple things? Or what do you do?
Well, I mean, for me personally, my work is kind of geared towards sustainability a lot more at the moment. But in terms of what I do, it's very difficult to do anything at the moment with coronavirus.
Yeah.
But I try to live a life that's more or less carbon free. I don't drive a car unless it's completely necessary. I try and buy food locally so that it's not transported long distances. I turn lights off. I don't let water run. Just little things. Like, all we can really do as individuals is try to make small improvements in our lives. And if every individual makes lots of small improvements, then that amounts to a very big change. So, especially at the moment with COVID-19, we can't really go out and march in the streets and go and chain ourselves to rainforest trees. So, you just have to make small changes and do whatever you can, basically.
Okay. So what do you do lately? I mean, you're freelancers, and then you've been working in some different places and then do a lot of stuff. So basically, in the situation like this, what have you contributed? I mean, which one is the most part? Like writing mostly, or probably, I don't know. Which one do you do most? What do you do? Because right now you're working from home, right? So what else do you do?
Yeah, so do you mean for my job, right? So professionally?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm a freelance content writer and a photographer. So my job is writing all kinds of different things, basically. If it's in English language and you read it on a computer, then it's probably something that I have to write for my job. So it could be website content. It could be articles that you read on a news website. It could be kind of annual reports for companies, but it's also like blogs and social media and all kinds of different things, from very big jobs to very small jobs, from very interesting jobs to sometimes quite boring jobs. But yeah, my job is basically writing about either sustainability and conservation or tourism in Indonesia. And I'd say that's about 80 or 90% of my job. And the other 10% is taking photos, which is the part that I really enjoy. But I don't do it as much as the writing.
Okay, sure. So, okay, we have two students here. Okay, they have joined us. So they both like reading as well, especially Tia. But wait a minute.
Okay.
They should unmute themselves. Tia, Mutia, Edith. They don't want to show up. Mutia.
Malu.
They're very smart, actually. Aduh. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. Why do you like Indonesian history?
Oh, good question. Yeah, it's fascinating. Basically, Indonesian history is basically world history because throughout the last few centuries, Indonesia has been in the middle of all kinds of major events in the world. From like the Cold War in the 20th century, where Indonesia was central to all kinds of American policy that was happening here. And then you go back further to Indonesian independence, which, when obviously Indonesia came out of Dutch rule, then you have all like colonial Dutch rule going back to the Spice Wars. And then you can go back to like the empires of Majapahit and Mataram, and you can go back even further and you have like Stone Age man coming out of Indonesia, basically. So you can go right back to the very beginning of history of humanity, and that story unfolds all the way through Indonesia over several thousand years. And every step of that journey, there's something kind of world-changing happening in Indonesia. So studying Indonesian history is like studying the history of the world, basically. But the most interesting thing and the most rewarding thing for me about studying Indonesian history is that outside of Indonesia, people don't, like people from my country, we don't really know too much about Indonesia. So I feel like I've discovered like a whole library of interesting information and interesting books that I never would have read before. So I feel very, very fortunate and very happy that I get to live and learn in Indonesia.
Right, okay. So wait a minute. Tia,
Hello?
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So yes, do you want to ask a question to Mr. Chris or maybe say something? She likes reading.
Mr. Chris,
Hi, Tia.
have you ever Have you ever read The History of Java?
The what? The story of Java?
The History of Java by Raffles, I think.
Like the British invasion of Java? Is that the one you mean?
Yeah.
Good question. We were just talking about that actually. Yeah, it's a book that
really?
I gave to Bu Rani last time we met, and yeah, it's one of my favorite books. Are you reading it right now, or have you read it already?
Me and Edith had a plan to buy that, but we don't have enough money, so we, yeah, you know.
Okay. Well, I would
to McDonald's.
I would definitely recommend it. How much does it cost? Where are you trying to buy it from?
I think around 200,000 or 300,000.
Yeah, mahal banget ya. Try. I think you can get it on Tokopedia in bahasa Indonesia, but I think if you want it in English, you can get it from Peri Plus, and it should be a little bit cheaper. Or you can very nicely ask Miss Rani if you can borrow it from her, because she still has a copy that I gave to her.
So I borrow it from you, then I give it to someone else.
Yeah, that's good. That's what books are for. We should pass them around.
So circulate, yeah. Okay, circulation. Okay, so yeah, anything else that you would like to know from Mr. Chris?
I think that's enough.
Tia, tell me, what is your favorite book? What book do you like the best?
Good question.
I'm sorry, what? My connection was unstable.
I just asked you, what is your favorite book, Tia?
I have many favorite books, and I think mostly involves around Greek mythology.
Greek mythology.
Okay.
Yeah, like Homer. And then I read about the song of Achilles.
Yeah, Achilles. Achilles.
Yeah. It's a pretty interesting book.
And what is the story of Achilles? What happens in that story?
Well, we know that Achilles is like the champion of the Greeks, right? Like he's the strongest man in the Greek army at that time. And then I think his ego kind of blow him off. And then Patroclus, his best friend, Patroclus. And then Patroclus died. And then Achilles, he revenge for his best friend by killing Hector. Right. Yeah. And then Paris, the one who kidnapped Helen. Right. With the help of Apollo, Paris shot his arrow to Achilles' heel.
Yeah. And it's like the one point of his body that has a weakness, right? Everything else is like immortal, but he has this one spot on his foot.
His heel.
Do you know there's an expression in English that comes from that story, like an Achilles heel? Have you heard that before in English, like in conversation?
Yes.
Do you understand what the meaning is when people say it in conversation?
I think it's saying for weakness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like someone who's like 99% perfect, but they have they have one tiny little flaw or imperfection, and it's the thing that just completely kills them. Basically, it's the thing that that causes their downfall. So yeah, it's a really common expression that you'll hear in English all the time. Like you can, you know, people use it to talk about football teams and politicians and celebrities and all kinds of things. They'll say, "Oh, that's his Achilles heel. That's their Achilles." So Tia, why do you like Greek mythology so much? What is it about those stories that you find so interesting?
I just find the idea of like the gods and the goddess. They're very much like humans. They have their own weaknesses. Like what? Yeah, they're supposed to be a very holy beings, right? But they also have their own weaknesses, and that's what makes them something like mortals, not truly immortal. I also like yeah.
No, go on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I also like the cultures. Like I like how the people dress back in the days. And then I also happen to like something fantasy and magics and royals.
Okay. So like big grand stories, like kings, queens, empires, gods, and warriors, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds good. Kind of stories that look really good on a big screen if you turn it into a movie. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Me, I'm kind of the opposite. Like I really like stories that are maybe like more realistic and focusing on like very humble kind of small characters, like regular normal people, and like the stories that they go through in their daily lives. Like I get really interested in stories that are just about regular people, really. Like I don't know why. It's interesting how everyone has different tastes for books and for movies and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, like I really like factual stuff, like rather than fiction. Which is why I really like that book about Raffles, because it's like history, but it's written like fiction.
Yeah.
Okay. What else would you like to know? What do you want to ask me?
I don't know.
Well, I think today we're talking about jobs, right? Yes. I think that's like our topic. So Tia, what is your dream job? What would you like to be?
I want to be a diplomat.
Okay. Why do you want to be a diplomat?
It is like a childhood dream for me to be a princess. Okay. And what princesses do, they actually help people, right?
Yes.
And then when I grew up, and then I realized that I can't be a princess because I am not born from a royal family.
But you could just marry a prince. I mean, look at Meghan Markle, you know? You could just find someone who's already a prince and get married. Easy.
Right, that's my goal. I already told Miss Rani so many times.
Yes. She told me many times that she's going to marry a prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for my backup plan, I'm considering to be a diplomat because they have a very big impact and influence on how to govern not a country but the entire world, like the international relations.
And if you were a diplomat right now, like if you were Indonesia's #1 diplomat, what is the problem that you would want to fix? What's the thing in the world right now that you would use your diplomatic power to change?
That's a really hard question.
Yeah, hard question. Education, probably.
I list so many things that the issue of this world, like poverty, inequality, and wars, violence, untransparency, and there's so many things that we have to fix, and climate change, of course.
What do you mean by transparency? What is it that you would like to change there?
by transparency, I mean there's a lot of countries that they hide the media, right? They control the media, and then so many news and so many events that happen in the country. Other people from other countries, they don't know that, but the people from that country actually needs help, need international help, because we can say that that the government is not that, how to say that, like the government is pretty shady,
Mhm.
and they hide so many things, like violation of human rights, violation of freedoms, or stuff like that.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
it need
definitely. I think
international.
like every government in the world, like, you know, nobody is perfect. A person isn't perfect, and when you put a group of people together, all their imperfections tend to add up. And when you put a group of politicians together, it's like times 10. So I think, yeah, no government is perfect, and they all could improve. And yeah, it certainly is the job of diplomats and the media especially to hold people to account and make sure that they improve, basically. So yeah, I think it's a really good ambition that you have, and I think you should chase it. Definitely, you should work really hard, and you should, yeah, you have an opportunity to make the world a better place.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
if that doesn't work out, you can still be a princess.
Yeah. Yeah. Transparency a little bit like harder, especially in this country. And also with the coronavirus as well. A lot of, like hidden agenda, conspiration
Yeah.
thinking, and a lot of things. Yeah. So transparency might be a little bit, I don't know. It could be, but it's also hard in some aspects. Yeah. But I don't know. Hopefully in the future it will be better.
Yeah, I think like the danger of times like this, when people are going through crisis, whether it's war or famine or disease like we have now,
Yes.
you have the initial crisis, you have the initial problem, like the humanitarian disaster, but you also, as a society, as a civilization, you have to be very careful that your government and your presidents, prime ministers, political parties, they don't use that disaster and that crisis as an opportunity to take people's personal freedoms away, because that always happens, and it's happening now. You can see
it's happening now. Yeah,
you can see there's countries in Europe right now, like Poland, for example, where they're like the prime minister has decided that he's going to be dictator for life, basically, and they're passing through all kinds of legislation that makes this stuff possible. So yeah, as people and as diplomats and as people in the press and just as basic citizens, really, we all have a duty to follow the news, to read the news, and to do our best to hold people to account, basically, so they can't get away with it. Yeah, but I think that's a really good idea. I think wanting to be a diplomat is a really noble cause, and certainly, like Rani and I were just discussing about climate change too. Yeah, if you do become a diplomat someday, that's certainly, I'd say, it's the #1 problem that the world is facing right now, because politicians come and go, whereas climate change is something that's going to be there for a long time if we don't do something to change its direction. So yeah, if you ever do become Indonesia's #1 diplomat and you have a chance to speak at the UN and make big changes in the world, then yeah, don't forget climate change.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that talks about climate change right now, so
well, that's good. I mean, Tia, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 18 this month.
Okay, so in your group of friends and in your generation, is climate change something that you talk about a lot? Is it something you think about? Is it an issue that you and your friends like? Is it something that's on your mind?
It's on my mind, but some of my friends they don't really care about it. Like, yeah, it's just a passing problems. But some of my other friends, they also like to talk to me about that. We like to talk about how we should do and what small things we can do. because we are no corporations, right? We cannot set regulations because we're still students, and then we can only prevent, not prevent, yeah, it's more like slow down the climate change by doing small things.
Yeah. What kind of small things do you like to do to slow down climate change?
Using public transportation, maybe, and then I also open and close the fridge quite quick because there's what is the emission from the fridge?
Emission from the fridge?
I don't know.
From the air conditioner? Air conditioning? Yes, air conditioner. What is
Conditioner.
FCV, FNV, CNV? What?
Emission from the fridge, yeah, probably. CFC, I think CFC 12.
CFC, yeah, I mean CFC, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think planting trees, because in our school there is a regulation to plant trees for every student.
That's good. Where do you normally plant trees with your school?
Huh? Sorry?
When you plant trees with your school,
Yeah?
where do you do it? I don't see many trees in Jakarta. You must be planting them somewhere very secret.
It's in the school, like
Cool.
in the school.
That's cool. So you're building a forest.
That's
really
really
nice.
Well, most students they don't give trees, but more like small pots and plants.
Okay, that's really cool. I mean, I think January, like before coronavirus started,
Yeah.
I went to Kalimantan for the first time, and I got to see the rainforest and the jungle, and yeah, I realized what a big issue that is for Indonesia right now. So yeah, if kids in Jakarta are planting trees in their school, then that's a really good sign that the next generation of people in Indonesia are going to care about forests, and they're going to hopefully start to rebuild all the rainforests that have been lost in Kalimantan. That would be great. Yeah. But I think like something good that's come out of COVID-19, you live in Jakarta as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed how clear the sky is and how fresh the air is, and how you can hear birds singing, and it's like the earth is taking a deep breath. It's really nice.
Yes.
What do you think? Like, what changes have you noticed since we've been in lockdown in Jakarta?
Yeah, I can see the star, the moon, not the stars, the moon more clearly than usual.
Yeah, like today, I saw the moon in the afternoon, even before it got dark. The moon was really big and bright this afternoon in the sky. I was looking at it for ages. It's beautiful. And yeah, normally in Jakarta, we have this big brown cloud that sits above the city all the time. So you never see the moon. But yeah, recently it's been, the sky is so clear, the sunset as well. Like sunrise and sunset is so beautiful in Jakarta right now. It's wonderful. My hope is that, like, because the problem with making changes in climate change legislation and in people's daily lives is that they get so stuck in habits of things being the way that they are, that they think that it's too much of a big change to make a difference. But I think that what the last month or the last 2 months has shown us is that it doesn't take much for the world to recover. Like, you just have to leave nature alone for 5 minutes and it will catch its breath and it will start to rejuvenate, on its own. So COVID-19 has been a terrible thing for lots of us, and it's like a real disaster. But in like one silver lining, I guess, is that it's given the natural world an opportunity to recover. And even in somewhere like Jakarta, which is famous for pollution and macet and everything, like, we have quiet streets and clear skies and sunsets and moons and stars. It's wonderful. So it's the thing that I've realized is that you can see a big difference from a very short period of time and very small changes. If enough people make a small change, it can make a huge difference. That's the thing that I've learned from COVID-19, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There's a transition process as well for Indonesian society because, related to hygiene, something like that. So we try to be like, I don't know, more aware about them, the hygiene stuff, and then try to wash our hands. And then, some of the people, it's really hard in some different areas to change their habits to be, I don't know, to be more hygiene, and then try to, apa ya, just like, the environment, of course, the impact, but I think the most important thing is about how they more aware and care about themselves.
Yeah, it's been a big change, and it's taken lots of getting used to. Like, what is something that you miss? What's the thing that you miss the most during COVID-19 lockdown?
What do I miss? I think I miss to work outside, and then the traffic is of course not, but sometimes I kind of miss that kind of thing. Even though I trapped in the traffic like many times, but well, some things, of course, I miss to go outside and then interact with people directly. But that's what I miss. How about you? What is something that you?
How about Tia? What is something that Tia misses?
Hanging out with my friends, I guess.
Definitely.
On holidays, we always watch movies on the theater, and then we also like to go somewhere, to the malls, to the parks, something like that. And then when the COVID start, we can't go everywhere. But what I dislike most about other people is like they still going outside even though there is PSBB.
PSBB, yes.
Yes, PSBB.
Yeah, PSBB.
Like social distancing, and then they risk themselves and they risk other people. I don't like that.
Yeah. Why do you think they do that? What do you think is going on in their minds? Why do you think they're happy to take that risk?
I don't know how their minds think, but I think they're just either they're pretty ignorant or they're just YOLO.
YOLO live once, yes. But some people have to work also, right? Because I think most
they're exception.
Exception, yes. But maybe some people being ignorant.
Yeah, I think everyone is different. Everyone has their own reasons, and I'm sure for some people, like if for example you are a kaki lima working in Jakarta, or like your job is to sell gorengan or nasi goreng or something, if you stay home for 2 months and you don't cook and you don't sell, then the consequences of that is going to be worse than getting sick, basically.
Economic.
So I mean, everyone has different considerations, everyone has different reasons, but I understand what Tia is saying about people being reckless or people being inconsiderate or being ignorant and going outside, because there's another expression in English, out of sight, out of mind. So if you don't see something, then you don't think about it. And coronavirus and COVID-19, a pandemic, is the perfect example of out of sight, out of mind, because you can't see it, you can't hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. It's something that's just an idea. And it's an idea that's so big and so frightening and so hard to imagine that some people just choose not to imagine it and not to think about it, because it's easier just to carry on as normal. Unfortunately, for those people, they might not feel the consequences themselves because maybe they're young and they're fit and they're healthy and they won't feel any symptoms. But maybe they'll pass it on to someone who then goes home to their grandmother and their grandmother gets sick, and it's much more serious for her. So I think it's a problem of ignorance. It's also a problem of a lack of imagination and just a lack of empathy. It's a bit it's selfish, basically. If you go out just because you're you don't want to contemplate it. You just want to carry on as normal. I
Just
think
want to have
that's
fun.
very selfish.
Right.
Okay. So what do you miss the most, Chris?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Lots of things. Lots and lots of things. I miss just walking around Jakarta, like something that I've always loved to do in this city, because I really love photography, and my favorite kind of photography is street photography, which is just walking around and seeing something interesting or funny or strange or beautiful on the street, and just trying to make interesting photographs about it. And for me, that's how I first fell in love with Jakarta. It's how I first discovered the city that is now my home, and it's something that I've been doing ever since I moved here. And it's a really good way to explore, it's a really good way to meet people, and it's a really good way to just be creative, get some exercise, have some fun, make some friends. And yeah, I can't do any of those things anymore. So yeah, as soon as lockdown is lifted, and once it's safe, one of the first things I want to do is go out with my camera and just basically start walking into kampungs and exploring again, basically. Yeah, that's what I miss the most.
Okay.
And also warteg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I used to go to like a local warteg every lunch, every single day, and I would have the same order, and it would be the same people in the same place, and I really miss it. I miss tempe orek, basically. So, yeah. And nasi padang, waduh, it's been so long.
You can order it via GoFood.
Yeah, it's not the same though. It's not the same.
Yeah, I know.
And with all the health and safety and hygiene, it's not so good. You need really good nasi padang needs to be a little bit contaminated, That's the secret ingredient.
Contaminating. Yeah. All right. Okay. So yeah, this is like contemplation moment. Yeah. So, but we can be also still creative. Just like, I hadn't actually uploaded a lot of videos since 2 years ago, but at the moment, I'm trying to, uploading some videos. So this is one of my new creativity. Try to make some contents.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What other kind of
What?
Sorry. What other kind of videos are you making? Are you doing like TikTok dance videos or
No.
What else is there?
I've never done that. I just like watch some people use that application, but I've never used that one. So I try to, hopefully this can be like inspirations for some of the people who would like to watch. So far I only have about like maybe 6 videos on YouTube, and then I try to ask some people, and then they come from different expertise, and then I ask them for some some knowledge, share information, stuff like that. Chris, you play TikTok, yeah?
No, I have no idea. I'm too old. I'm already I'm an old man, TikTok is a young man's game. I'm all about books and rocks and trees and stuff. When it comes to technology, I'm gaptek. So
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just amazed. I'm actually talking to you right now. This is like as technologically accomplished as I get. So
Yes.
TikTok is way too far.
Way too far. Yes. So in terms of learning, we've been doing this kind of thing for quite a long time, especially my little niece, because she's been doing the home learning for about 2 months. So I tried to get used to it, because maybe some aspects are missing from the online, but this is the thing that we have to do. So I'll try to get used to it, and then this is good, so I can learn some features. I can utilize technology to share something. So this is also positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tia, how about you, Tia? Are you able to keep practicing your English and keep learning? And even though you don't have as much contact with teachers and with students, and are you still finding ways to practice, even though, you know, situation is different now?
Practicing English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Miss Rani contact me almost frequently. So I still study from her. And then every day I think I read English stories, like fan fictions. Right? And then I also read English novels, like that. Like my everyday consumption, it's mostly English, not Indonesian.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, do you find, everyone has their own learning style. Everyone has their own kind of key to unlock their learning. For you, is that reading, or do you enjoy listening and watching, and or is it mostly reading that you get most of your English through?
I think it's reading.
Okay.
Reading, yeah.
Yeah, it's they say, like, if you want to improve your speaking, you should practice listening, and if you want to improve your writing, you should practice reading. Like, do you write in English as well?
I did. Did. Not
Have you
anymore.
tried writing any fantasy stories or any epic,
Yes.
like empires and royals kind of stories?
You did.
I've tried that before, but I'm not confident in my grammar.
Well, I mean, grammar is, grammar is important, but it's not the only thing. I think certainly when you're speaking, it's important to feel comfortable rather than to think too much about being accurate. It's more important that you get your meaning across. Like, if you're speaking to an English person like me, or an American, or someone who maybe English is their second language, but it's the language that you're using together, it's more important to be communicative and to be yourself, basically, than it is to be 100% accurate. Because, you know, conversations are not exams. You don't need to be absolutely perfect. With writing, I guess, yeah, it's important to be accurate, especially if you want to make a living from it, if you want to work. But the good thing about writing is that it's literally, it's black and white. So if you make a mistake in your writing, it's very easy to look at it and analyze it and change it and fix it. And it's a really good way to improve your overall English skills as well. So if you are writing at home, and if you find that you're making mistakes, and if it's damaging your confidence, and it's kind of making you want to stop writing, then the thing you should do is keep writing, basically, and keep making mistakes, and keep showing your writing to Rani, or to me, or to anybody else that wants to read it. Because every time that you make a mistake and you fix it, that's like another step that you go up in your level. And the only way that you'll get through to the next level is by making mistakes. Mistakes are good. You should make as many as you can, as often as you can.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, don't give up, especially if you like writing.
Yeah.
Keep writing, and keep reading, keep writing, keep being creative, and don't give up.
Yeah. Don't give up. Semangat, semangka.
Ya, semangat dong. Jangan menyerah.
Dan menyerah. Okay. Chris, next time, if you do have time, maybe we can do the chat like this again with some of the students.
Okay.
But I think for today, it's enough, the session. We're learning a lot.
Okay.
Terima kasih sudah berbagi.
Ya, makasih juga. Sampai jumpa lagi. Ini seru banget.
Yeah, it will continue. Yeah. But Edith is missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Edith is missing. We have one student. We had one student before. Her name is Edith, but I don't know where she. Okay, so next time we can.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. Yeah. So I think that's enough for today. Thank you very much for your time, Chris. We do really.
You're welcome.
Next time kita ngobrol-ngobrol lagi ya.
Boleh dong.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to say before we finish?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just-
It's nice seeing you again. I haven't spoken to you for ages. Finish that book and
Yes.
give it to Tia. So she
Finish
can
what
read it,
books?
okay?
Deal.
And then Tia, you can sell that book. I've heard it's worth a lot of money.
Okay.
Or you can read it first. But yeah, very nice to meet you. Really nice chatting with you both today. And yeah, feel free to get in touch anytime. If you want me to look at your writing, I can maybe give you some pointers and some help with that. But yeah, anytime you guys feel like a chat, feel free. It's really nice to ngobrol, basically. So anytime.
Thank you. Yeah, Chris is a good writer.
Okay.
Terima kasih, Mr. Mr. Chris.
Yeah, sama-sama.
Oh yeah, I just chat with Miss Emma, you know, Tia.
And then she said,
Yeah. Yeah, we will chat later, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
See you. Thank you, Chris.
All right, cool. Yeah, you're welcome. I'll
Bye.
see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.